Ready?
Check.
Di bawah.
Alright guys, welcome aboard for the pilot. So today is the preparation for your oral exam. The preparation for oral exam in FAA private and commercial. So this is a principle of flight. We will discuss about everything in aerodynamics. Alright. So just get ready, and everything will be on the books. We are using the PHAC 2016. Alright, we're gonna start soon.
Tapi nak sini kan Pak?
How many viewers do we get?
6
Great.
and 2 likes.
Thank you guys.
Jadi 5. Lila itu salah satu itu.
Hi Lila. Ready?
Ready?
Okay, welcome aboard to 14th Pilot Flight Academy. I'm Gumang Giori. I'm an FAA flight instructor, and today we have 2 students here to study about the principle of flight. Especially we talk about the aerodynamic and prepare them for the oral exam, private and commercial. So guys, as you know that the principle of flight is really important because we want to fly smooth and nice. Okay, if you want to fly better, then you have to know how the concept of lift, drag, thrust, and weight, how we organize everything to become a flying strategy. Because I met a lot of pilots that they can fly, but they don't really understand about the philosophy of the principle of flight. So they don't really know about the relation between lift and weight, right, and thrust and drag. What kind of drag do we have? Then the problem is most of them they fly roughly. They don't fly smooth. They fly rough, and then they don't just fly like a commercial pilot standard. Okay, every time they fly the airplane, they put like hard input to the yoke. They keep hold the yoke and they play around with the power. They cannot even maintain the altitude. So why we want to study about the principle of flight? Because we want to be able to become high standard pilot, especially you as commercial pilot applicant. Right? You want to become an airliner. One day you become ATP. Then if you're flying for the passenger, the most important part is you have to think about the passenger comfort level. Okay. Let's think about if you're flying for fun flight with your girlfriend, with your parents, right? And then that's the first time they ever ride an airplane. So what's gonna happen if they fly in a turbulence and then you're panic, you fight with the airplane, you yank the yoke and then the airplane moves like that, right? So what's gonna happen with your passenger? They're afraid, right? So that's the thing we want to avoid. As a pilot, we want to take off smoothly, cruise smoothly. When you turn the airplane, you turn it smoothly because a lot of people, when they don't really know about the relation between all the aerodynamic principle, they just use their hand like that. So they just like driving a car. So when they put the more angle of attack, they just pull it like that. So it's really put a hard input to the airplane. So we don't want to do that. That's why today our online, we're going to discuss about the aerodynamic, what's the formula of lift. Okay, we are not scientists. You don't have to know how to calculate all of these things like a roll, what is the coefficient of lift. We don't calculate that like a test pilot, but by knowing this formula, okay, this will give you an idea how to operate the airplane in the air. Okay? And then the subject we want to discuss is the first is lift. What is lift, right? And then what is drag, of course, because lift and drag, you have that in the four forces of the flight since you already studied the ground school from where King schools, right? You already done the King school state. So now we talk about more applicative way how to understand the aerodynamic and especially preparing for the oral exam, just in case the examiners wants to dig you more about all these subjects, right? The load factor, which is normally the load factor will join with the weight. Weight and load factor is become like one part. So it's become load factor when you turn, then the weight now changes to the load factor. We can talk about that later. And we have thrust, we're going to talk about left turning tendency. You're going to fly single engine airplane, right? Not the tail wheel, but the normal 3-cycle landing gear. So there's the left turning tendencies. The propeller moves to the right, then when you climb with the slow airspeed, high power, then you have really bad left turning tendency. So if you don't really know how to cover, how to anticipate the left turning tendency, you will get into troubles. Okay, then we have to discuss about that. Then VA, what is VA? Maneuvering speed. Maneuvering speed is one of the speed that is never published in your instrument, flight instrument, your airspeed indicator. Is there any maneuvering speed? No, right? So you don't have maneuvering speed, and then what is ground effect? We have to learn about ground effect because understand the ground effect will help you to what?
Not floating.
Land the airplane, right? We want to land the airplane and you will demonstrate soft field takeoff, soft field landing. You can do it perfectly if you know the ground effect. Then we talk about the stability. In the private pilot, they don't really ask about the stability, but since you are a commercial pilot applicant, you have to know from now what is the stability. Stall and how to recover from the spin. The examiner will ask you, all right, what is spin and what's the stages of the spin? Okay, and then if you're talking about the spin, how to recover from the spin, then you have to talk about the recovery of the spin. Then the region of reverse command. So that's our outline today. So let's get started. Now we talk about lift, right? So let's talk first about lift. The best question for everyone is why the airplane can fly. That's my favorite question. You can bet, even commercial pilots in the airline, they don't really understand why the airplane can fly. And a lot of misconception about the lift. Okay, but now we just talk about what's the basic understanding about lift. Why we concern about lift? Because you need lift to compensate the weight. If you're talking about the Cessna 172, we have 2,300 pounds weight. So that's the weight of the airplane. Now, if you want to fly the airplane, then you have to have lift that can cover 2,300 pounds. Then when you divide lift divided by weight, you got 1G. Right? Now you have the force to compensate that weight. You have 2,300 pounds weight, then you have to generate 2,300 pounds lift. Then you can fly. Do you understand? Alright, make sense? So, the question is how to generate lift. Then we do have an airfoil on our wing. But before we go to that, this is your formula for the lift. Half rho, what is rho here? This is air density. V squared So this will be your airspeed. And here, coefficient of lift, we can say that angle of attack, right? And then that's the surface. That's the airfoil, your wing. That's your wing, right? So from that list, which one you can control? Can you control the density altitude, density air density? No, you cannot control the air density. Can you control the speed?
Speed, yes.
Yes, you can absolutely control the speed. And can you control the coefficient of lift?
Yes.
Yes. How?
By lifting the yoke. By
By pitch, right?
pitch, sure.
You use elevator to control, give more angle of attack. And the last one is the surface. Can you control the surface?
No.
Actually, no, because that's already fixed design by the manufacturer. Maybe you can put like flaps, but sometimes not every airplane has the forward flaps, right? Because the forward flaps, that's the only flaps that will give you significant change of lift, because that increases your chamber. But if you're talking about the plain flaps, split flaps, it's the drag device. Okay, solid flaps, yes, maybe it will give you some lift, because we're going to talk later about the wing design and the flaps, right? But remember, the surface for the airfoil, normally we can't do anything about that. We can put some drag with the flaps, but we cannot change the design. So based on that formula, you know that to control the lift, to give more lift, what kind of activity that pilot can do? First, increase the speed, right? By
using throttle.
add some power or change the pitch. Then change the pitch will be on the angle of attack, right? So there are two ways that the pilot can manipulate the lift. The first is by changing the airspeed using the power, or you change the angle of attack, then you can manipulate the lift. Got it? So as a pilot, how to fly the airplane? I have to control the lift. How to control the lift? How to produce or generate the lift to compensate my weight? The answer is, I'm going to use my power or my pitch to play around with my angle of attack. So the basic concept is I want to generate lift to compensate my weight. That's why if the airplane is become overweight, that will be the danger things for you to fly, because the structures of the airplane, they cannot produce the lift more than the maximum weight. Then if we connect that to the aeronautical decision making, you know that there is an external pressure. Then that's happened to me. Like last month, one of your 14-day pilot graduation students, he's already a private pilot. He came to LA with some friends, and then we weighed that friends, and it's overweight. And then one of his friends, so what's the point if we have to rent two airplanes? We want to fly together, 4 of us, go to Santa Barbara, have lunch, okay? So can we just go, right? It's only 50 or 70 pounds overweight, so what? We can burn the fuel anyway on the way, right? And he's like, yeah, okay, let's ask Gil. And then they came to me, and then, all right, what to do? It's only like 70 pounds, and there's no point to hire 2 airplanes because of this. Because one of the guys really fat is like 250 pounds, then after we calculate everything, Piper, Warrior, Cessna 172, all overweight. So what are we gonna do? And his friends say, oh, okay, this is not good, I have to fly with you, man. So there's no point if we have to rent 2 airplanes. And as a pilot in command, I say, no, take it or leave it. Why? It's true, when we fly, we burn the fuel, and then the weight will decrease. But what happened if you're flying, then you got engine failure after rotation speed? You fly like 500 feet, and then you have engine failure. Then you will get into troubles. And when you crash, then the FAA comes, the NTSB, National Transport Safety Board, will do a deep investigation, especially when you crash and you hit someone there. What's gonna happen? They will find out everything. Then the pilot in command fly with the overweight condition. What's gonna happen with you?
Jail.
Maybe jail, or maybe they decide to revoke your license, or maybe you have to do some classes or anything. So just remember, we never, ever, ever take off with the overweight. Because why? We know the concept. The structure of the airplane generate maximum 2,300 pounds, then you have to generate lift 2,300 pounds to fly the airplane safely. Okay? If there's no engine failure, who cares? Who knows, right? But can we guess? You never know. Engine is an engine. It's just like electrical things. Maybe sometimes you broke your phone, and you never know. That's why as a pilot, we want to follow all the numbers in the book, whatever it takes. Got it?
Yeah.
So that's lift. We control the lift with the airspeed, we control the lift with the angle of attack. Okay? We play with the pitch. Now, let's talk about how to generate lift. So there are two basic law of lift generation. It's really very popular that the Newton third law, and then the Beverly Principle. There are misconceptions about this lift theory. NASA, you can visit the website of NASA. They talk about the Beverly Principle is partially right and partially wrong because they do all the tasks in the Venturi, and the Venturi is not airfoil, right? And then some of them also say that the Newton third law is only talk about the deflection from the bottom. They never talk about how about lift generation during the airplane descent. So who knows the truth? That's why I keep talking with the FAA, with the examiners, and they say, you know, until they can publish the correct version, then we will follow whatever said in the FAA books. Okay? Unless there's a new revision of the book, then you just follow that. Okay? So for now, the Newton third law and then the Bernoulli principle. So let's talk about the Newton third law. What is that? Action reaction, right? So we are talking about if we fly, let's say the iPad is a thing like this, right? And then when you fly, then there's a wing here or there's an air. This is your flight path to this way, and there's opposite way from the opposite direction. Then when you do this, you get your flight path like this, hit the surface, and what happened? You have the reaction to that way. Then it generates lift. It's like deflection, see that? It's like a kite. Boom, and going up. The air comes here, deflects to downside, and then the reaction is up. So that's the first thing about the Newton third law of lift. Okay? The other one is about Bernoulli principle, talking about the differential pressure. The principle of differential pressure between the airfoil here and here. All of us know about the Venturi principle, right? The Bernoulli put the Venturi, and then they put the meter here, and they Bernoulli finally found that the higher airspeed coming from the narrow Venturi, okay, then lower pressure here and higher pressure back here. Then Bernoulli take this as the concept of airfoil. Okay? So what exactly happened is, since when there is an air, the flat pad here is divided to up and down, okay? Then they believe there's a faster airflow upper the wing and slower, underneath the wing. Then this creates higher pressure and creates a lower pressure. Then there's a lift coming up from underneath the wing. So that's a principle. So if the examiner asking you, all right, tell me a little bit explain about how lift is generated, then you're gonna ask, there are two ways for lift generated. The first one, Newton's third law, the action reaction. When the air gets deflected from the surface, then the reaction is going upside, because the deflection is going down and the reaction is going up. And the other one is the Beverly Principle, the differential pressure between upper and lower wing, because of differential speed. Alright? So by changing angle of attack, as the wing, this is what is angle of attack actually. The examiner may ask you that. The angle of attack is
The angle between the chord line.
the angle between what?
Chord line and relative weight.
Chord line and relative weight. So the things you have to know is, this is the airplane. If you fly like this, right? Where's your relative weight? It's over here. That's your relative weight. Okay? Now, if your airplane fly like this, boom, it's going up. Where's your relative weight? Where?
From
Anyone? Where's the relative weight?
the horizontal line.
Here or here?
Here.
You see, the airplane moving like this. Where's the flat path?
Straight.
Straight. Now the airplane is climbing. Where's the flat path?
Flat
Line.
Over here. Now look, the airplane for some reason put a high angle of attack, but it's moving like this. Where's the flat path?
No, there's no. I think there's no flat path.
No, there's a flat path. Where's the flat path?
Oh, still straight.
Still straight. Then that will be your angle of attack. In what condition you can fly like this? Aerobatic, or when you fly slow flight, okay, and you don't put more power, then you have to compensate the lift, the same equal amount of lift with angle of attack, because you don't put more airspeed, you don't put enough power to maintain altitude, then you have to increase the angle of attack. That's why that's a formula of this. So if you're flying like this in the slow flight, you don't put enough power, enough speed to maintain the same altitude. Remember, the key is always the same altitude. We want to maintain the same altitude, okay? You don't add enough power or enough airflow to generate lift, then you need to put higher angle of attack to maintain the altitude. Then your airplane will moving like this. Where's your relative weight? It's over here. Okay? When you put more angle of attack, then the deflection will be like this. Then you have more lift generated from here. Got it? The more angle of attack, the higher deflection. Then I call this a waterfall effect. And then the faster air travels upper the wing, then the lower the pressure, then you get more differential pressure because of this. So why, by changing angle of attack, by add more angle of attack, you got more lift because of that. You get more deflection, okay, and then more differential pressure between upper and under wing, until there's a separation of what?
Between
Separation of airflow. Then what can happen?
Stall.
Stall, right? So what is stall actually?
Losing airspeed.
Mm-hmm.
Losing lift.
Losing lift, losing airspeed. Anyone? So what is stall?
Losing airspeed that can cause losing weight.
Oh.
Losing lift.
Losing lift causes the separation of the airflow.
Yeah, I know. So what is stall actually? And we have to switch this, right? Can you switch that? HDMI 2. Alright, so that's the wing. Everybody can see it, right? You see, it travels up and down, and we have 25 lift here. Now, let me put the wing like this. So there's a distance here. It's not exactly at the surface. We call that a boundary layer. So this is the laminar flow, and this is the turbulent flow. Okay. You see, by adding more angle of attack, you got 60 lift. I will put more. Boom. 58. Now it's 60. Then you see a lot of turbulence flow here. The turbulent flow, there will be a separation. Then you're gonna see now the airflow will go up like that. When the airflow after it's going down, now it's reversed back. It's become completely dry. So let's put again more. Oops. Right. Let's put like this. You see, the higher angle of attack, the lower
Lift.
the lift. It's weird. Let me put it back here. Alright, so this is 26, 28, 30. See that? The numbers, now the lift is become like 50,
60.
60, 61, 62, right? Now I put the wing like this. Then you see the lift is decreasing. So it doesn't mean if you put more angle of attack, the higher angle of attack, it doesn't mean you have the higher lift. There is some point that you can lose the lift. Why? Separation of airflow. So let's put like this. This is all turbulence and this is all drag. So there's no airflow here. So if you see this airflow, you see that? It's twist now. This is exactly what is the turbulent airflow, turbulent flow. Then this is completely drag. When there is no airflow, the smooth laminar flow above the wing, there's a lift. And if there's a separation between airflow and the wing, we call that stall. And stall is happen when the critical angle of attack is exceeded. What is the critical angle of attack? When you put the wing, when you put the wing roughly 18 to 20 degrees pitch angle of attack, you will get separation of airflow. Then we call that aerodynamic stall. Any question? Clear? So you guys really clear about this? Okay. So then, now we know one of the factor of the stall is the separation of the airflow. If we put higher, we exceed the critical angle of attack. The question is, stall is not just happen because you just lose your airspeed. No, it's not like that. So what happens if you lose your airspeed? Like I said, you want to maintain 3,000 feet. You're not adding power. Then you lose your airspeed. How to maintain 3,000 feet?
Lower the
pitching
angle.
up.
You put higher angle of attack, right? To maintain 3,000 feet. Then the airspeed may be less than, what I mean is, you don't have sufficient airspeed to provide airflow, for the wing, because if there's no airflow, there's no lift, right? You still stubborn, you don't want to put some power to add some speed, then what happened? You're starting descent. What next? You gotta maintain that. You put more back pressure. Boom. Now the angle of attack has become like 80 degrees. And you got separation of airflow. What happened? You got stall. Boom. So stall, it doesn't mean you don't have enough speed. Yes, you don't have enough speed, then you have to compensate that with more angle of attack, and because of you add more angle of attack exceeding the critical angle of attack, then you got stall. Okay? The other things is, can stall happen at any airspeed? What do you think? Stall can happen at any airspeed. Alright? So what factors, what is the factor of stall actually?
The angle.
Weight, load factor, and power. WLP. It's depend on your weight. The more you have the weight, the more angle of attack you have to add to compensate the weight, remember? Then when you exceed the critical angle of attack, then you get in trouble. Okay? Then next, we talk about the load factor. Now, the other question is, how about if you fly 10,000 feet, 20,000 feet? What happens with your stall speed? Your stall speed will increase. Okay? Because now you have two airspeed there. Less air density. Then less air density, your engine cannot produce sufficient airflow to because if you're flying at 20,000 feet with the Cessna, first your engine is filled safe. What is the surface ceiling of Cessna? 40,000. Right. So let's talk about we are flying at 40,000 and the temperature is not standard, it's getting hotter there. You're flying here in Indonesia. Then the air is become less dense. If the air is less dense, what happened? There's no sufficient airflow above the wing. But when you fly at the higher altitude, what's going to happen with your airspeed? Your true airspeed increase. Your true airspeed increase at high altitude. But the air density, what happened? Is less dense. Then your engine cannot produce another power to compensate the airflow. Then what happened? You have to put more angle of attack, then you stall at higher speed. That's very simple. So why your airspeed, your true airspeed is increasing at higher altitude? What happened? Why your airspeed is increasing at higher altitude? Why your true airspeed is increased?
Because there's a different pressure in each altitude.
Tell me how it works.
The difference between the ground pressure and the
Because there's streamline.
Sorry?
Streamline.
No. So, always remember this, guys. Why the true airspeed, TAS? But what is TAS actually?
The airspeed over the wing.
What is true airspeed? The calibrated airspeed?
ground speed minus.
No. True airspeed is the calibrated airspeed corrected for the pressure and the temperature. Right? When you have different pressure, different temperature, then you got true airspeed. And then the ground speed is when the true airspeed add or minus with the wind. So what is the true airspeed? Do you have the definition there?
Yeah.
What is that?
Actual speed through the air. Corrected for non-standard temperature and pressure.
Yeah. when the calibrated airspeed actually corrected for non-standard temperature and pressure. What is the standard temperature, guys?
Pressure.
15.
What is the standard
Oh.
temperature and pressure?
If pressure to 9
And
15
15 what?
degrees Celsius.
Or 59 Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit.
So, look, when you fly really high, okay, like 18,000, the density is like become 50% of the ground at sea level. Normally, what is the weight of the air? It's 14.7 pounds per square inch at the sea level. If you go up there, it's become like 50% at 18,000 feet. Now, if you're flying at 18,000 feet and the molecule of the air, okay, now is separate. Listen carefully. You fly at 80,000 feet, your molecule of the air is separate. It's like, it's not dense anymore, it's less dense, it's expand, right? But you have to fly 100 knots, indicated airspeed. What's gonna happen? Then your airplane must travel faster to achieve 100 knots with the expanded air molecule. You know what I mean? That's the reason why when you fly high, then your true airspeed is getting higher. Then your ground speed is getting higher. Okay? So I need to explain about this because there's a fee here. Then you have to know about this. When the stall happens at high altitude, it can happen at higher true airspeed. So what is our stall speed for Cessna? Phi as what? Phi as is when that's airspeed the airplane can maintain the control, right? And then what is the Phi S1 and Phi SO? What is Phi SO?
It's always minimum steady flight. Speed and landing configuration.
Landing configuration. So any stall speed with the landing configuration, what is landing configuration? Flaps down and gear down. Of course, you have lower speed. Maybe 43 in Cessna, right? And of the white band, like the first of the white band on the airspeed indicator, then that will be your VSO. So here, right? You see the end of the white, okay? The end of this white, you see this? So this is your VSO. Got it? So you see the green, the first of the green, that will be your VS1 with a clean configuration. So this is the airspeed indicator. Any question?
No.
Alright, so you have to know what is your VSO and what is your VS1. Okay? Good. Now, what happened with the lift if the airplane turned? That's the last one before we break. After that, we discuss about drag. What happened with the lift when the airplane turned? Do we have the same amount of lift?
No.
No. Why?
Less lift because the centrifugal force.
Alright. So we have an airplane here and it's flying straight. Now it's turning this way. Do we have the same lift?
No.
The answer is no. Why? Now, you have lift over here and weight over here. Now you're getting chance to turn the airplane. So where is your lift?
Right there.
We call this vertical component of lift. When you turn to the right, okay, so you have vertical component of lift and you have horizontal component of lift. So this horizontal component of lift that creates the force to turn the airplane. So if the examiner asks you why the airplane can turn, what's the answer?
Because of horizontal.
Vertical and horizontal.
No. horizontal component of lift. Because of this horizontal component of lift, the lift is no longer vertical, but it's become sideways like this. We call that a total lift. The more you bend, the more lift you lose, because it's transformed from the vertical lift, it's become horizontal lift. Then what are you gonna do?
More power,
Or
more angle of attack.
more angle of attack. Great. Then you have to add pitch. Okay. In private pilot, commercial, ATP, type ratings, you will do the steep turn. The private pilot steep turn is 45 degrees. Commercial steep turn is 50 degrees. So when you turn 45 degrees, your G is no longer 1G. Because in this case, you have 2,300 pounds lift to compensate 2,300 pounds weight. But when we turn, since you know that the lift is become horizontal component of lift, right? How about the weight? Now the weight is not only weight. There's another load factor. This is what we call load factor, opposite from the total lift. What's gonna happen is if you turn 45 degrees, alright? If you turn 45 degrees like this, then you have 1.4 G. It means it drags you down more than 1 G. So what you do? You have to add more pitch. To maintain, the key is to maintain at the same what?
The same altitude.
Altitude. That's the thing. So do you understand? Yes or no?
Yeah.
How many percent? 100?
Lumayan.
No, what is lumayan? I don't know lumayan.
So lah.
Why not completely understand? Tell me.
I think I completely understood. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so the question is, when there's a 1.4 G, right? Then you have to add more angle of attack as the lift formula. Why? To maintain what? The same altitude. That's why when you do the steep turn, I want you to, after you turn like Venturi, then you have to do two things. The first, add some power, like 10% of the power. Let's say you're doing it like 2,300 RPM, then you add 10%. So you do like 2,500 RPM. And because you add some power, then you don't have to pull much.
Slightly pull.
Slightly pull, just compensate that just enough. So the key is just enough to make sure the altitude is maintained while you bang 45. Because there's a horizontal component of lift. Then what happened, you see this wing? This wing got high angle of attack. The higher angle of attack, you got more induced drag. We're going to discuss about induced drag later. So this induced drag will drag the wing like this. So what we call this?
Skid.
Skid or slip? Which one?
Skidding.
This is slip.
Oh, this is slip.
Skidding is go into the direction of the turn. Because of this, you have adverse yaw. Because there's a drag here. Alright? So what's gonna happen? Use the rudder. You turn to the right rudder.
Right.
You turn to the left rudder. How big? How big the pressure?
Just little.
How little? What's your indicator? The ball. Your inclinometer. The ball must be centered. If the ball going to the right, it means you need to kick more right rudder because you are playing like this. If the ball is going to the left, it means you have to release your right rudder because the airplane now is skidding. Then how much is just enough when you turn, you have to maintain coordinate turn. You are not slip, you are not skid. Put the ball center any time of the flight, no matter what's the distraction, no matter what's the turbulence. Remember my word. You put the ball center, you save your life. You put the ball out of the center, you kill yourself. Say it.
You keep the ball near the center line, you save your life.
You put the ball out of the cage,
You kill
you kill yourself. Okay? Because any spin can happen when one wing stall from the other, stall first, then you're not in the coordinate turn, you're gonna spin. So in this case, we know that when you turn first, what are you gonna do?
Just power.
Add some power, add angle of attack. That's the first thing. Number two,
Use the rudder
to maintain the ball
center line.
center. No matter you fly 737, you fly Citation, you fly A380, you fly Little Cessna, you have to make coordinate turn at any time. Okay? Why do we need to put more power and back pressure?
To keep the altitude.
To maintain the altitude.
Why?
Because we lose some altitude because the centrifugal force.
We lose some lift. Okay? We lose some lift because
The centrifugal force pull the
Yeah.
aircraft down.
there's a centrifugal force to that way, right? Okay? You lose your centrifugal force. You lose lift because your vertical component of lift now is become the horizontal component of lift. Okay? Any question?
No.
So far we already discussed about lift and what happened with the airplane when it turns, and what is the load factor. Okay? And what else? We discussed about stall, right?
And spin.
Not really, but we're gonna cover that on the session 2.
Okay.
Alright, so we have a break. Thank you very much, guys. If you have any question, just let me know. Just put a comment on the comment section. And subscribe this YouTube. I really appreciate if you can subscribe and share this to other friends who need it. So this is the accelerated training of private pilot and commercial pilot. So we do accelerated from private to APP, including the type rating. So we are 14-day Pilot Flight Academy. You can join our Instagram 14-day Pilot or go to our website 14daypilot.com. Thank you very much for watching. We will continue for session 2. So one day, if you want to become a pilot, feel free to come with us, and you will enjoy our really deep preparation for the FAA oral exam, and also all the flying part is really fun. So you can find out about the student testimonial, and you can take a look to our flight training YouTube. We record everything in the GoPro, so hopefully you can enjoy and get a better picture of how we conduct the accelerated flight training. Thank you very much, and see you on the next video, guys. Bye.